got your quarterback back, resurgent Brent Venables. Now the spring game is up ahead this weekend. Your thoughts overall about where this team stands as they get ready for that inter-squad scrimmage?
Yeah, I think it's, in a much better place, even, than they were a year ago, because at this time last year, they're integrating a whole new offense with Ben
Mm-hmm.
Arbuckle. Now it's year two, and, John Mateer is back again, which just only means good things. Should be coming for this offense in year two. Everybody's a little bit more settled in. They know exactly what they want to do, what works, and everything. And they didn't go out and bring in a Jaden Ott this year, so that should alleviate all of those questions for them. Take a little bit of the pressure, the stress off. But yeah, I think you feel pretty good about where the offense is heading, and the defense has to replace quite a few guys that are going on to the NFL, the next level, and everything. But you do get Kip Lewis back, which is a big deal. They got Cole Sullivan in the transfer portal, which is a big one. Which it does give me a little bit of a pause, because I know every single defensive transfer that has come in has talked about how hard it is to learn the Brent Venables defense. So it may be a little tricky, him kind of coming in and, having to be one of those maybe signal callers and stuff for the defense to see how it works. But, by all accounts, he's a very talented linebacker and should fit in nicely with Venables and them. And he's doing his homework. I know when we talked to him, he said he's putting in the homework hours learning this defense and everything like that. So, but yeah, I think you feel pretty good about where this team is at this point, especially consider where they were at last year, coming off another 6-7 season and
Mm-hmm.
bringing in a new offensive coordinator who's 30 years old and everything. So, I think you feel pretty good about the state of the program at this point. And, whether they make it to the college football playoff again or not, I don't know. But you feel a little bit more confident that they're going to be able to repeat their success this year, which was a little bit of the issue the first couple of years with Brent. Is, they went 6-7 the first year, they won 10 games the next year, then they went 6-7 again. I think they're in a much better position to be able to sustain their success now. Whether that's 8 wins, 10 wins, 11, 9, whatever. I don't think we're going to see another 6-7 season, barring, Mateer breaking his whole arm or something.
Oh, Holden, we don't want to hear that. We don't want to hear that.
Well, Holden, you set me up perfectly here, because I was going to ask, having John Mateer back obviously is a positive. And last year we saw him play through a hand injury and still did great out there. So what will a healthy John Mateer, hopefully, given what you just said, but hopefully a healthy John Mateer this season mean for this Oklahoma team?
Yeah, and also I think they may be able to protect him a little bit better this year. At least that's kind of the feeling that they're giving off right now. Is they played a lot of freshmen last year and they're back. So, they could only, they played a bunch of young guys now. That can only help them, as they've been through a year of the SEC and everything like that. So the O-line should be better, and that should also help Mateer not feel like he has to do everything on his own. And I think they think the running game will be better. I think those two could set up, just John Mateer to have more success based off of those two factors, because there were definitely times where you could kind of see that he felt like he had to, burden the whole offense on his shoulders. And when you have a broken thumb, it's not exactly, easy to bear that kind of burden, because it was hard for him to throw. And you could see that he wasn't the same the whole time. He was playing through it, but by the end of the season, you could see they were playing good football. And that first half against Alabama looked like a completely different player from what we had seen for the majority of the regular season. So I think just another off season, getting familiar with the guys, having Isaiah Satania come back will be nice, because they had a really good connection this past year. So I think that'll help. I also think they did a good job. With Deion Burks and Isaiah Satania last year, those are two best receivers, but they're both slot guys, which meant someone had to play outside. So now I think the pieces just work a little bit better this year. And they got a couple decent tight end transfers. So it seems like the offense as a whole is set up to have much more success this year. And, assuming he doesn't get hurt, I think we should see a much better version of John Mateer this season.
And I mean, you did bring up some of those the games, and I think specifically the Red River rivalry was the one where it really seemed like Mateer was just trying to do it all himself, and I think those 3 interceptions prove to that concept. But you brought up Satania returning, you brought up the young guys having that experience from a year ago. Obviously, they added Parker Livingston from Texas. You bring in Jason Witten as your tight ends coach, you're obviously going to get some pretty good tight end talent out of the portal. Do you think he has more weapons around him this season to where he doesn't have to try to be Superman, so to speak, and be kind of like what Josh Allen is when Josh Allen's not really playing that great?
And I mean, last year, like I mentioned with Burks and Satania, one of them has to play outside. They're both slot receivers. That was kind of a challenge to work through. Their leading tight end played linebacker the 3 years before that.
Not ideal.
I just think that they're much more well positioned. You had the whole Jaden Knott saga where it ended up being Torrey Blaylock and Xavier Robinson kind of took the most carries, and they were both young. Torrey Blaylock was a true freshman. Xavier Robinson, I think, was a redshirt freshman. So I just think all of the combined experience that they're bringing back on that side of the ball, and just the familiarity of the Ben Arbuckle scheme, and now Arbuckle has kind of a better feel of what he can do with this team, the guys that are on there. I think we saw kind of, he really kind of got to, go hunting in the portal for what he thought would work best for his scheme. And, getting a guy like a Hayden Hansen or, Rocky Beers to play tight end, I think that will help improve the running game, because while Koenig did play well in the receiving game, he wasn't much of a blocker. He's a little undersized as a tight end. He's only about 6 foot. So, that was a little bit of their issues, is they had a lot of young guys on the line. They had a small tight end. You had 2 slot receivers out there. The run blocking just wasn't great. And I think just all of these things will really help the offense this year as they try to, go back to the college football playoff again.
Yeah, the good thing about the offense, though, and the better thing, because they do have these weapons back, but the good thing last year is they didn't have to light up the scoreboard because their defense was elite last year with R. Mason Thomas and all these guys. Brent Venables will keep NFL guys, NFL bodies all around on that defense. Are there some guys that you've heard about in the spring where it's like, hey, watch out for this player, didn't get a lot of snaps last year, but taking that next step up into this year? What can we expect from the defense outside of it just being overall solid because of Venables?
Yeah, I think the secondary could maybe be a little bit better this year. They didn't dip into the portal last year, and they chose to kind of let their young corners just kind of play and everything. And I think they've got a lot more experience. We've heard for a couple years now around here that Michael Boganowski is a really good safety. He's a heavy hitter, hard hitter. And so it'll be interesting to see him get more reps. Peyton Bowen is back. Eli Bowen they look like they could take the next step as well. So those will. I think that the secondary could be better, and they won't be so reliant on that pass rush and everything. As I know Venables was dialing up a lot of pressure last year, so I think maybe if that's what they choose to do again this year, maybe the secondary is a little more well equipped to handle that, the one-on-one responsibilities and everything like that. So I think the secondary could be a part of this defense where you're looking at maybe they're, helps them be a little bit more consistent, because you're losing some really good pass rushers in R. Mason Thomas and Grayson Halton. Marvin Jones Jr. was really solid for them on the edge and everything. So Dominic Williams up in the middle. I think the secondary could potentially help out with some of the losses that they got on the D line. And, they still have PJ Adebaware, who was a 5-star recruit coming in. Now, it's potential that he could really start to take off. It's kind of we've heard really good things about Danny Okoye too, who's from Tulsa. That maybe these are 2 guys that could really help set the tone on the edge now that I think they're in their 3rd year now under Brent Venables. So and that's where we kind of really start to see guys really start to flourish, and Brent has done a pretty good job of retention on the defense and getting guys to want to stay a few years. And once you really get to that second, that third year in the Brent Venables defense, that's where we've really seen guys kind of take off. Like, R. Mason Thomas really took off the last couple of years and everything. Grayson Halton, Owen Heineke burst onto the scene this past year and everything. So, I think that the retention aspect that they're able to do on defense really kind of helps them. And that's what we saw last year. So you had a bunch of guys that had been in the Venables scheme, the Venables defense for a few years, and it really paid off last year. And they were, easily the best part of the team last year, and the reason why they won as many games as they did.
And you know what, Holden, he should probably give a lesson to Porter Moser on retention, because Porter Moser is the completely the opposite.
Well, to be fair, Brent Venables has a lot more money at his disposal than Porter Moser does. So
yeah, he does.
I'm not gonna blame Porter for the lack of resources. It's football first, and then everybody else gets the scraps.
That's just the cherry on top if the men's basketball program is pretty good. But it felt like this time last year we were talking about Brent Venables, and his name was swirling around the hot seat. Do you think he did enough getting them back to the college football playoff last year that we can table those talks for at least the entirety of 2026?
Oh yeah, I mean, unless they start the season like 1-6 or something.
Unless Mateer
like that,
does, break his entire arm, like you said.
This seems highly unlikely. But I think now you feel better about the program because it feels like there's more stability there now, and it feels like the success can be repeatable. Like I was saying, that it's not 6-7, then 10 wins, and then 6-7. It seems like they're just in a much better place. And, making the playoff does calm the people down in Norman. They, are a little bit more chilled out, a little more mellow after a college football playoff appearance than they were after a second 6-7 season. So, I don't think we'll have to worry about that within the next couple years, but you never know. Life comes at you fast in college football, in the SEC, and in this NIL transfer portal era.
I got to ask you, did you have like a bet or something on 6-7? Because you said it a lot, and I saw Gabriella wanted to do this the entire time.
No, that's just.
I thought you like a bet in the newsroom that you could say it 13 times on the show.
No, that's Brent Venables' number.
You're right. You're right about that.
And
it wasn't even
his number.
It wasn't even 6-6.
It's the Jeff Fisher, 8-8. That's what it was.
Yeah, no question. And it felt like it was always tied to him, because 6-7 always means one thing: you're just good enough to make a bowl, but you're going to lose that bowl game every single time. No, it was hilarious. As you said, I just saw Gabriella fight the urge to do this every time. She was just like.
Every time Gerhard says it in the station, now I have to do it. He just looks at me like I'm crazy.
Holden, you're awesome, man, and I got so much stuff to do. Thank you so much for joining us here on Southeast Sports Plus.
Thanks, guys.
Holden Krusemark joining us.